I got a magician. And it occurred to me, where on God's earth would I find a place where I could get all these different people together, and yet we became close friends. I don't think there's any place in the world like Round Lake. I do have one caution, however. If any of you have poetry phobia, I want to allay your fears at this point. This is not a big epic saga poem. This is what it's supposed to be, a birthday card. A funny thing about history is that we never think it's about you or me. Instead, we think of kings and warriors or explorers who pretend that no one else has been here before. But to really know the history of any one place, all you have to do is stay where you are and turn about face. Looking back on this spot 700 years, it was the Algonquin Indians who originally stopped here. And if the reason they came here is your wish, it's easy. They came for the fish. The lake was called Tenendeho. That was their name, and it was loaded with fish, fowl, and game. The Indians stayed here for innumerable seasons, but the first white men came for far different reasons. The English and Dutch and the French were all in a hurry to cash in on Europe's craze for fashion that was furry. This led to the French and Indian War, and after that it was the English who were knocking on our door. They hadn't been very long in town when they discovered the lake was actually round. So in 1770, our home achieved some fame by being placed on the map with our very own name. The next 100 years were filled with turmoil. The American Revolution and 3 wars took place on our soil. Westward expansion became the new dream. Industrialization was the scheme, powered by factories of steamships and trains that ran on steam. But the little round lake managed to live through it all, staying mainly intact and mostly unspoiled. It was now ready to be discovered by the next group of visitors, Joseph Hillman and the Methodist ministers. But they weren't alone, for behind them came trailing an equally large number of Episcopalians. They were looking for a summer place where preaching and praying could take place, away from the city's sweltering heat, a kind of summer camping religious retreat. They built a small platform, they hung up a bell, followed by tents and later a hotel, an arcade, a steamship, and then just for fun, a 500-foot model of Jerusalem. No one could have guessed how popular it became, with thousands arriving each day on the train through pine-covered walkways. Scores of pilgrims trod, singing songs and hearing sermons glorifying God. By the 1880s, Round Lake had reached its peak, with an enclosed auditorium with 2,000 seats and a huge organ sitting atop a 40-foot stage. But we were about to turn another page. In 1886, a new group came to the fore, but it was one that had been here before. The women of Round Lake pursued a dream. They formed a club named after kerosene. They brought lights to brighten dimly lit streets and built a library so our children could read. They funded it all with bake sales and fairs where vendors would come to sell their wares. Like the antiques festivals that we've seen so often, except back then, the antiques were brand new. No longer just a summer campground, the houses had people who live here year-round. Extra traffic required widening Route 9, but sadly, the campground began to decline. Unable to get mortgages or aid from the state on its birthday in 1968, the Campground Association voted on its own demise, and by a narrow decision, it turned out to be wise. Now a village of Round Lake, they were able to get state aid and federal grants, and it gave the village finally a chance to be like other small towns across the nation and finally do some much overdue rehabilitation. Paved streets, new sewers, and lots of paint made the location both desirable and quaint. But unlike the tract developments that bloomed all around, Round Lake stayed a historic Victorian town. And here on its 150th birthday, I'm happy to say it still is. So here we are, brought up to date, gathered together to celebrate a fact that none of us ever expected, that by living so close, we became connected. And by sharing a history that we shouldn't forget, we also share a history that hasn't been written yet. So really, it is in our best interest to try living here each day making a difference. Because the point of this short history is so that you will see that eventually, when our time is no longer new, somebody may just write a poem about you. Thank you.
Mr. Bob Sweet, thank you so much. Beautiful.